What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody had a good New Year. It is now 2026, so hope everybody has a good 2026 this year. But anyway, something that I want to talk about, which kind of hurt me as a Penn State fan. Ethan Grunkemeyer in the transfer portal. Now, there were some rumors, there were some rumblings that he could be headed to the portal. Because obviously, you commit to a certain coach, you come into a program a lot of times for a certain coach. First off, James Franklin, gone to Virginia Tech. Your offensive coordinator that you also committed to, gone. Andy Koldenicki, gone. So Matt Campbell comes into Penn State. I don't know how much Matt Campbell tried to retain Ethan Grunkemeyer because we do know Matt Campbell has had a certain quarterback in his system for years now, and seemed like he kind of wanted him to follow from the start. Me personally, I wanted Ethan Grunkemeyer. I thought very highly. I thought the world of Ethan Grunkemeyer as a player. You know, I told everybody really after his start against Indiana, I think it was. I started telling everybody this kid is the real deal. This kid has a very bright future. This kid could possibly he could possibly be one of the top quarterbacks in the entire country under the right development. I think that development could have been Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell has shown that he can develop quarterbacks. Look at what he did with Brock Purdy. Look at what he's done with Rocco Becht so far. Rocco Becht's been a very good quarterback. However, Ethan Grunkmeyer's ceiling, in my opinion, was much higher. Now, also, if you did keep Ethan Grunkemeyer, instead of bringing in Rocco Becht, then I think, well, I mean, you obviously have more years. You have more years under control with Ethan. I think you have a much higher ceiling with Ethan. My question is how much of this had to do with Ethan Grunkmeyer's decision or how much of this was Matt Campbell's decision? Because we never really heard much from the quarterback position perspective out of Matt Campbell. He did bring in almost his whole offensive staff from Iowa State, so that is definitely something to kind of think about as to what's going on and why Ethan Grunk did hit the portal. I mean, after the Pinstripe Bowl, if you were to ask me, I probably would have said Ethan staying. I think that he showed enough down the stretch. Matt Campbell had to have watched that film and said, "Yeah, we want this kid to be our quarterback next year." Did Matt Campbell approach Ethan? And did Ethan just want out because obviously it's different coaching and maybe he didn't want to play under the new coaching. I don't know. However, I think it would have been great for him. I think it would have been very good for him. I do think he's going to have a pretty big market. I do very much think that he will have a big market because in the little sample size that he did give, like I said, you saw flashes of major. Like you saw very big flashes from him. I think he's going to be a great player. Hopefully, I really do hope that he at least goes somewhere where he could be very good. Um, I'll get into some teams in a minute that I think he will follow. I'm not saying these are teams I hope he goes to, but teams that I think may be at least in touch with him. Now, like I said, I think he has a very high ceiling. Saw a small sample size. If you look at his interception numbers, yeah, they look a little high. But I think three of those came against Iowa, or two of those came against Iowa, and then one came against Ohio State, or two came against Ohio State. I don't know. It was really between 1 and 2 games where all these picks came from. 8 touchdown passes, and like I said, he didn't play much. 1,339 yards. Dude, I mean, I thought he was very good. He had a very good deep ball, which I love in a quarterback. He had very good pocket mobility. He had very good pocket presence compared to some other quarterbacks that we've seen. He just looked like he was ready. He looked like he was ready. That's another question that leads me to think, did Matt Campbell maybe sit Ethan down? Maybe say, hey, we got this quarterback coming in or we got this quarterback that was at my old school that we kind of want to bring in. He has 1 year left, so can you sit behind him for 1 year and learn, or sit behind him 1 year and develop under our offense? Maybe so, and maybe Ethan didn't like that because he knows he's capable of going somewhere and starting right now. I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, it's just hard for me to think that Matt Campbell watched Ethan and said no, like we'd rather Rocco, because I mean, based off of what I watched, I thought Ethan was a better quarterback than Rocco. And I think Rocco's a good quarterback. Like I said, nothing against him. Nothing against him, nothing against Matt Campbell, but I really do wish that we were able to hold on to Ethan Grunkemeyer. I think it would have been a great asset at Penn State next year. We learned a lot in the portal. Learned a lot in the portal these few days about Penn State. But anyways, let's talk about that other quarterback, and that's Rocco Becht. So it seems like it's gonna happen. Like it seems like it's almost a done deal. It's probably already a done deal. You just can't legally say it, but it's probably a done deal. I do know that he is visiting Penn State, I think next week or this week. Rocco Becht does have a visit scheduled to Penn State already. He's gonna commit. I mean, he's coming back with Matt Campbell. That's just how it is. Now, Rocco Becht, I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. And if you look at the Penn State roster, he's going to be playing with a lot more talent than what he's had, especially at Iowa State. Because Iowa State, that was a place where it's very hard to get talent over. Very hard to get talent over there. So he's easily going to have his best, most explosive receivers, I would say, if you look at like Kobe Howard and some other guys. Also, Penn State's still going to attack the transfer portal pretty heavily. If you look at the starting roster, based off of the transfers that we heard about today, you didn't lose much. You didn't lose much. And I'm going to do a video about that too, by the way. So be on the lookout for that if you're a Penn State fan. But anyways, I think Rocco Becht is headed this way. I think he's 100% headed this way. And I think he could work out very good in Penn State. I think he could fit very good in this offense. Obviously, he's played in the offense. He's played in Matt Campbell's offense. Um He's played with all these offensive coaches already, so he knows it. He knows it perfectly good. Now, the talent thing that I was saying, how is he gonna look playing with this much higher level talent? Is this really gonna help elevate his game to the next level? I think it could. It very well could. We've seen it before. We've seen it with a lot of these transfer portal quarterbacks. You know, a kid looks good at a small school, but the numbers don't really jump off to you. And then you get him around a lot more talent, and look what he does. He does something very special. I think Rocco Becht could be that type of guy. You know, he has all the tools. It's not deniable. It's undeniable. Rocco Becht is a good quarterback. He has all the tools, and like I said, I think he's gonna have a good season at Penn State. I do think he's gonna have a good season at Penn State. However, I just really wish we could have had those few years control under Ethan Grunkemeyer and really look towards what these next 3 years could look like rather than just what this 1 year with Rocco Becht is going to look like, if that makes any sense at all. Because when Rocco Becht leaves, are you going to go out and transfer portal another quarterback? I don't know. I don't know. I think you're going to have to. I think you're going to have to because there's really nobody on this Penn State roster left at the quarterback position that could take over after Rocco. Unless you want to start like what will probably be a redshirt freshman like Peyton Falzone or somebody. I don't know. Very interesting. But it does seem like Penn State has their new quarterback in Rocco Becht, and Ethan Grunkemeyer is hitting the transfer portal. So if you're a Penn State